Let's get to the stock of the day. But we do put a spin on it often on a Friday. And now that the new government has been sworn in, or at least it looks as if the Labour government is heading to a majority, one of our viewers emailed us wanting to know from the experts what their top pick is to benefit after a change of government with Labour in place for the first time in a decade. So we thought, thank you, by the way, for the suggestion. We thought, why not? Let's do it with these guys here with me in studio right now. So yeah, Luke, this time last week we were all, who's going to win? Who are you going to vote for? What's the sausage sizzle going to be like? But we pretty much know the outcome now. Is there a company that you think could really stand to benefit from a change in government?
Yeah, look, I've come with a company, but I think Claude and I attacked this from a similar angle, and I think most investors would as well, which is the outcome of that election. It's been said was a mandate on climate change, and so I think that was the big theme I took from the election, that the government and the policies that they will, come out from with this election will really drive that decarbonisation. Wait and see what forms that takes, but there's certainly some businesses on the ASX better positioned to take advantage of that. So one that I'll float up, look, I'll clarify, I don't own it.
Okay.
It actually got raised on the call when Claude and I were on a few weeks ago, called GenusPlus. GNP is the ticker. About 200 mil market cap, so it's a bit smaller for your more conservative investors. And these guys are like a service provider for power and telecoms industry. So they're involved in the construction and maintenance of substations, power lines, and the electrical and telco grid. Now, maybe viewers are able to go back and listen to the summary that we gave back then.
Just have to search on the website under the name or ticker code.
Yeah, had a lot of good features of the business you like to look for. Founder-led, recent IPO, but no sell downs from the founder. Bought some more on market. There's a lot of things that you look for. But to bring it back to the election, Claude will probably elaborate a bit further, but I think the explosion that we'll see of renewable energies at a decentralised level to the power grid means that businesses like this could really benefit, constructing the extra substations, power lines, all that you need to make sure that these new smaller scale renewable projects are able to connect to the grid and get power where it needs to be. So, like I said, I don't own it. I think it's an interesting idea. It's one that if you're looking for that sort of election beneficiary, have a bit of a dig into, and all of the other good things that I like about businesses as well. And one final point I will say is, I'm a bit wary of fixed price contractors right now. These guys sort of avoid that a little bit because they're more around that maintenance and service rather than the big construction.
GenusPlus, GNP, is one to chew over if you're looking for a company that may benefit now that we've got a Labour government in place. Claude, it's your company.
Well, my company,
I know you were torn.
Yeah, but well, quickly before I get onto my company, I just want to add, since we last talked about GenusPlus, there was a big $500,000 buy by a director just like last week. And that's a big enough purchase for me to have to say I think that probably is a positive. And so I have to say I'd be more positive on Luke's idea now than I was when it last came up. So my idea, so first of all, we're going to talk about a company that I own and really like and think is well positioned to benefit from this exact theme, which is Energy One. And actually, that would be my favourite choice, but I'll put that aside for now and come up with another one just to get in the spirit of it, which I don't own, but I also think is very interesting, called Genex. Now, basically, Genex is essentially an infrastructure company that has been building solar plus also this sort of solar storage. Now, they have a battery plan that they're doing, but on top of that, they also have this long-term project that they've been working with pumped hydro. So essentially, you use the solar energy to pump, water to a higher spot, and then when you need to release that, you can do so. Now, these guys recently, they are very good for that sort of ESG thematic, and as a result, I think that their share price has historically been always quite high relative to what they're actually worth, and in the more recent times, you can see the share prices come down a long way because they've had to raise capital at about 15 cents per share. And the reason they've had to raise capital is because these are super capital intensive projects they're doing. And in fact, one of the only reasons they've managed to get this off the ground is because they've received subsidised debt from the North Australian Infrastructure Fund and the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. And given the continuity and availability of government subsidised low interest debt is sort of so key to what these guys are doing, I have a hunch and would suspect that it's quite likely that under a Labor government, especially when you've got look, at the moment, I think we're at 75 seats for Labor. So if it just does happen that they need one more seat, well, the Teals and the Greens are all in favour of renewable energy. So it's hard to see that we don't have a government that's much more encouraging of renewable energy. So these guys should be a direct beneficiary of that. Now, the flip side of it is I consider this stock quite speculative, because even though it does have receipts from customers and revenue, and it should benefit from energy cost inflation, it still just has so much spending to do, and its market cap is like a little bit around 200 million, I think, and it has debt that's almost already double that. So when you have a company that's actual equity value is low compared to its debt, the value of that equity can swing around massively as the enterprise value of the company changes. So very high risk one, but it's got its recent capital raise. It's now got perhaps a more favourable regulatory environment. I would say for a sort of sociological, speculative, and medium-term trade, it might be quite interesting.
Just quickly, and I know it might be oversimplifying things, but what would it take for you to buy Genex?
That's a tough one. It's sort of outside of my usual wheelhouse. So what I'd be looking for is some kind of, so I've given you the medium trade thesis.
Yeah.
I'd probably want to find some shorter term catalyst. So I need a sentence where I say, I think if I buy shares now, someone's going to buy them off me at a higher price in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months time. And that's because it's not that kind of high quality business that I'm willing to just buy and be like, all right, I'm going to hold this for the long term and go on the compounding journey, multi-year, multi-bagger, high quality stocks. It's not there yet. I need more catalysts.
Interesting. And then same question to you, GenusPlus. So again, you're saying, I don't own it. What would it take for you to be interested in owning it?
Here's a good question. Look, for me, it probably just needs a bit of a trading history. It's a recent IPO. I think there's a lot of things to like about it, and as Claude points out, just meaningful director on market buying in the right space. I think for most investors, we like to see a couple of reporting periods, and if you've got guidance out in the market, you can hit that consistently. So maybe that's probably the main thing, but it's certainly high on my sort of research list to really dig into and have a look at for sure.
Good.